Thank you very much for a second time. For those who were not here, my name is John Quod Quang Ding. And John, you know how to spell. The second name Quod is K-U-O-T. The third name Quang is K-U-A-N-Y. N is just one letter of Nya. And then you have Ding, which is D-I-I-N-G. Individually, I am married to my wife Victoria, and we have two sons who are passing greeting to all of you. The firstborn is 5 years old. I am 37. Our secondborn is 3 years old. The first one is Marshall. The second one is Ethan by names. So they are saying hello to you. I'm a medical doctor with a medical degree. I did advanced training in obstetrics. So in our clinic, we have a labor ward, which I'm always called into. And I work with many Christians there, and they regard me as team leader. And Bev here, our overall team leaders, and all of you, our brothers in Christ. And I'm always I don't know where to begin, but there is always a screen. This time around is in front of me. I think I will go by the screens of why I am here, so that the other stories we can individually talk to. I also have Kat at the back. If you just want to chat about South Sudan, we can share more, because I was born there and grew up there. The first country I ever moved out of the country is Uganda for medical schools. I later went to Malawi to marry. I got my wife there while I was in training. And this is my first time to leave Africa to United States, and I arrived here on 15 September. I'll be going back to Juba and to the field where our mission base is on 7th of December this year. So thank you. I work for South Sudan African Missions as your brother, and South Sudan African Mission, for those who don't know, came to being because one American man by name Paul Douglas with his wife went to Sudan in 1988 because there was natural disaster of River Nile water that has flooded Khartoum Hospital, and the light was blown out. Because there's part of infrastructure, you can see wire just on the wall, because some walls are raised without holes in it. And so International Disaster Emergency Service gave him 1 year contract as a technician to enter Sudan. On the other hand, for me being here, Sudan was close to Christian because it was Islamic state. So Paul came as an individual fixing a hospital contracted by Christian group in US, and then he met those young men that were displaced by war in the south part of Sudan to Khartoum to seek refuge. And there his wife Marilyn, the mother of Bev who is here, was making clothes to dress South Sudanese that were on the street without clothes in Khartoum. And so the men fell in love of Christ with Paul. They became close and privately shared the word of God. And after Paul's contract, the question was, what does he do with those young men that have known Christ, that are so compassionate to know the word of God? So Paul has few friends who helped him take one of the men who is by name Urnio to Zimbabwe in 1989 after his contract in Khartoum. And Urnio struggled with the language in Zimbabwe to graduate with a diploma in Bible and mission, and came to Kenya, started a mission with refugee camp, and that was 1994. And now 3 years later, he found a flight to take him to the village where he was displaced over 20 years. And the rest of the story is from that village. And so more men were sent to Nairobi Great Commission School to study Bible and mission. And they came back home, and the group was formed to call South Sudan African Mission. It was Sudan African Mission, but South Sudan got independent in 2011 on 9th July. Out of Sudan, and now we are a country. So I'm kind of having two nationalities. Before I was Sudanese, now I have to add the word South to make South Sudanese. And so the mission exists to equip leaders and establish New Testament churches and extend the compassion to the people of South Sudan. And to do that, the team started with Awil Bible College in Malek, while they were extending compassion by providing safe drinking water by just drilling boreholes, providing medicine for the sick that are seen in the village where they were preaching, and food to the orphan and widows of the civil war in that village. And I don't know what is in the next slide.
This is an old slideshow because I forgot my new one, so we can fly through
Okay, this is a map, I think this African map, and South Sudan is located in the Central Eastern African map.
The next slide shows that.
And I cannot see that. We can continue. South Sudan now, if you know where Sudan is, where we are in Awil is in the northwest part of South Sudan. All the way Awil, there is some, yeah. We can go next. That is Merlin, and so I think I'll leave this and then talk, and if we are lucky to see a picture, we will do. We are so blessed to have Bev at the stateside. I am the first man among all the team that Fall met to come to the United States because it has been difficult to travel. And so when I get all report from evangelists from all of the villages, and the drugs action that is done with the funding we receive from Christian and different churches in the States, I make reports back to Bev, and Bev Helif has print out newsletters and feedback to the Christian that are praying on our names and the names of people that need the compassion of Christ. And so this presentation, Dave used it, I don't use it because I never been in the US, and so any picture I see has a story behind it because this was from us and I'm speaking the picture itself. So Awil Bible College, after establishment in 2003, which I see here given 2007, which was the first graduation ceremony, it has already sent out 153 evangelists which have established 35 churches. And in these 35 churches, there's a lot of work going on, from mobile medical clinics to baptism. This year alone, from January until now, they have baptized 1,431 people into Christ across all the churches. And so they are doing a lot of work. And in 2009, because of the compassion, the team was able to construct Malek Christian Hospital that see over 100 patients a day, and we have average of 50 deliveries, safe deliveries happening in the facility each month. And this is just one of the wells, and this is how crowds, you can stop there where there was a church. The 35 churches, only 3 have shelters, not to this. The rest happen under a big tree like that. If you know African trees, I never seen one here. This is tamarind tree. When I was a boy, this tree is I am thankful for its existence because it has fruits, the tamarind fruits, and each tree like this can have different flavors based on the different branches. I don't know whether anyone has that experience. So each branch we will mark as a sweet branch, the other branch is sour. So maybe it's good to add water and make juice out of it. But the sweet one, you can easily eat there and take water and you are good to go. And so that's how we mark the churches, and people will come, they can walk over an hour just to congregate under the tree. And this is the Malek Church of Christ, the base where a hospital is and mobile medical clinic. This is inside the Malek Church of Christ. Sometimes it's like Christmas session for mass, they'll just come outside. If they have little money to rent some tents which people use in that village, because we are the county capital, so we can congregate outside the building because the building sometimes is small for them because it's the source of the production of evangelists and the whole, because we were the first to settle in Malek after the war of 1986, destroy everything to hatch. We still have few wells that are not usable because human remains were just dumped there because of the war, and land mines were everywhere, and UN was able to help community remove mines, and the church was the first to settle in 2002, and the county commissioner from the bush where they were resettled back in Malek. So we are kind of at the heart of the county headquarters. This one, do I know that?
They're just the benches.
Yes, what I was saying. So sometimes they make a wooden poles, put poles together and put grass to make shelter, and that will be our bench inside. So you have a pole like this and a wood put on it, this end and that end. So it's not uncommon to hear someone falling down because they have sat on it when there were many of them, and yeah, and that water that leads us to a compassion of drilling a well to a village. You come to get that water, you baptize. I think that's Pastor Paulino. that his clothes will have to be washed again in different water, because that is just muddy, and you'll see animal drinking there, and you see people coming to take bath there, and so it will cause a lot of health issues, diarrhea diseases and parasitic infections. And when you drill a well, it's just saving thousands in that village, that this is just source of their water. Yeah, that's another baptism happening. So I talk about Awil Bible College with the genesis and the number that is. Currently we have 30 students. Thank God these people are taken through quota system based on the mapping of the villages, with an aim that after their diploma or certificate in Bible and mission, they will go back and establish a church in that village, and that's how it will begin to grow. On the other, these are the current students. They just got their Bibles. Last year, November, we went to Nairobi and bought them a study Bible. They are huge. They are very heavy. We have to pay extra cost for the flight to lift them to us. And behind them, those are dormitories. Those are hostels. So it's made of a mud wall, and the woods are inside. And women come there to cause that smooth roof. And this one can stay for 3 to 5 years, which is a time we are taking one intake at a time. And the reason it will go off when it rains too much, the wall is taken away by water, or if the wall doesn't fall, the grass will be eaten by ant hills. So the ants everywhere, and it climb it, and then we have to. In 2020, we're blessed to put a brick that has been laying in our compound that was produced in 2000, I think, and 7 or 10. And this is the Awil Bible College block, a new block that we have. So it has 3 rooms. One is a library and an office for the principal, and the rest are the lecture halls for the diploma and certificate class. When you see that background, that's what you will see during rainy season. That's how our villages look. It's green that way. So that's a hospital. That is just a front view of it, where people wait in the shade. The shade you see outside. Every patient will come there, and in the morning, early hours, we will choose the topics to talk about, maybe the cause of typhoid, how to know this is typhoid, when you get the sign and symptom, and how to go to the hospitals. And so we will teach them the disease causation, the prevention part of it, and why it is important for them to arrive to hospital early. And a lot of things will happen there as they sit along those benches. And so we introduced delivery rooms in 2017 after my return from Malawi with the qualification of obstetricians. And so we have a room of 4 by 3 meters square. I don't know in yards, but you can convert. Some of us there are just from high school. And so we have 3 delivery beds, and it's flashy during labor when they are in pain and they see each other. So we are praying that we extend. And when I arrived here, I got good news from FAME through Bev and the team here that they have donated us 23,500 USD that will allow us create a whole. That's the word, the one you'll be seeing. That creates, we will create a door out of the room, delivery room, and create 4 separate rooms that will have separate walls between mothers, that the quality and service of delivery room will be improved. And I am so overjoyed of the love they have and what they have given. And so it's a 40 size beds hospital, and these are our beds. Currently each ward like this, because there was a back picture, do you have it, where it came out like this from outside? Okay, so this is just one wing. The hospital goes like a V shape, but a straight V. That one now has partitions, and we have male and female. The other side we have postnatal wards and pediatric wards. So a mother that has given birth will have to wait for at least over 24 hours to rule out that she's not going to bleed in the village, because it's very hard for them to come back. And so, and anytime complication happen like need of surgery, our truck will take the patient back to Awil town, where Doctors Without Borders are supportive of surgical cases there. Mobile medical clinic came to exist. That was me after medical school in 2014. This is my first vehicle. So in 2013, the team gave me a ticket to fly out of Uganda, where I was studying, to come to Malek to tour the churches. And we entered a certain building with an aim to see the cause and the structure, because we are under tree. That's always the prayers. One day we will build the structures to pray so that rain and sun doesn't displace people when they are worshiping. And so when we enter there, we find 16-year-old boy who has been unconscious for over 24 hours, and they were forcing food. The way I remember me forcing even food onto my mom when I was having a lockjaw. And I came in, I was in senior clerkship in Midco School, chased people out, cleared his tongue, got out of the church, and we found a truck that was taking bricks to the village from town. And we jumped at the back of the truck to town. It was a cerebral malaria that has caused convulsion. The guy was stiff all over. And so I had a value of $70 in my pocket. I used that. I shared with people. Some of you hear about my family. There's no much gift like that can satisfy them. And so we used that money to buy medicine and test that was needed. 3 days later, I told the team, my brothers from US, to come and pray over the family of Simon to go home, because he can now talk and walk and was ready to go. And they asked, but how did they do it? So I explained every procedure that took place, because I left them in the village when I saw the boy, and I was the only one in the clinic, and I know how they were treating him. And so when I explained, someone talked to the college in North Carolina, Bible College, and they raised $750, and they asked me account number to send me that money. And I said the money was actually from church, because I received the tickets to come to just visit the Christian, and I used that. So they said, so what do we do? I said, it's not good to tour villages with a hired car, because we cannot carry our first aid kit. So next time we may need a vehicle to have a first aid kit, that so many people like Simon can be saved before they reach a hospital. And so many people at the stateside raised funding, and I ordered the vehicle online, and I was called that, hey, your vehicle is in Juba. And I fly out of a wheel with a driver to come and take the vehicle down. And since then, it has rolled until last year, when the gearbox has issues because we don't have good roads, and a new vehicle was purchased again. Such a blessing. So to say thank you for whatever little things given, as Babe said, is just causing too much hope there, and is making a doctor like me touch a life of people I can never visit if I am alone. And so this is how mobile medical clinic work. It's very good that you may be wondering, you go to your, some of you may have your son that is above 18 years old, you escort them to the hospital because they are unable to drive, and they will lock the door behind you and you will not hear. Here they are just telling us their stories, what they are sick of. And so there is no much of privacy, and they don't even care about the privacy of patient information. Why? Because when you are sick, the whole village knows you are sick. And so you just need to talk to the doctor that will give you medicine, and you need the cure to tell later. So we got such testimony, say, oh, without the child team, I would have not found a baby again. Or without you coming, the convulsing kids at that day would have not survived, because that's what killed them. Malaria with fevers and convulsion, just like that of, and we see life being saved every day through mobile medical clinic. And this was January with Babe. I think that picture is from them. And we were praying, we have hours to take. And so we saw a crowd moving with a person, and he fainted. So he was unconscious for some reason. They put an IV line, and that is a drip running. And later on, I asked the medical assistant to take more history. We discovered that he was left alone in the village for some reason, and he never ate for 2 days. And he was having malaria afterward, after a rapid diagnosis test. And then he was having hypoglycemic shock, because he has less sugar in his blood. And he was saved there. Can still tell his testimony to you if we go back to Daniel Church, where we are. And so what do I say? The church has changed and created hope for so many people that out of these 153 evangelists, 3 of them has rise to the position of governor chief, and Awil is at peace with itself, with all the villages. And the country is still now, okay, I like that one to talk about, I'll get back. That one is a typical Dinka house and even Luo tribe in the region of Bahr el Ghazal, where we are. Awil is known as Northern Bahr el Ghazal states. So there is very humid, and the place is hot, and there are tall grass and bushes. So when you have little kids, they will be put up there with their mother to protect them from reptiles like snakes and scorpions. Sometimes the hyena can mistaken people sharing hut with goats and few calves and pick a person. And this one traditionally is an upper house that is elevated for those who are unable to defend themselves against any crawling things or a wild animal. And so that's a typical Dinka house that is elevated purposely for vulnerable members of the family. I don't know where they take, but our road sometimes, as I said, from a lake we can go Trans-City, you may see few cars in a whole town, but you can move to a certain county just without roads, and you will be the only car that has left and come back without. So we have nothing to do with a lot of traffics. The way I see you have to wait with the light, and someone may cross you over. And yeah, and now because of the peace part I was explaining, I'm kind of jumping to get the whole thing together. Currently, we have set a foundation in Juba that is lying at 150 meters square. That's we were there. And the vision there is to build a center that will build one tribe of Jesus Christ for South Sudanese. Currently, our government has 5 vice presidents because after independence, the vice president, who is Dr. Riek Machar, and the president, who is Salva Kiir. Salva Kiir is a Dinka tribe and Riek is a Nuer tribe. Dinka is the largest majority tribe in South Sudan and Nuer is the second largest majority tribe. They claim that Riek tried a coup attempt and it turned violent and turned tribal because people loyal to Riek were his tribe men and people loyal to the president were his tribe men. And that war went to many villages and there is that tribal hatred, where each tribe attacked the other village of next tribe and the revenge continue cycle. So now they signed a peace in the year 2018 and they appointed those head of different armed groups to 5 vice presidents, and one of the vice presidents is the one that I was attached to come actually to US, to come to UN General Assembly. And so it's only God, if we can teach people love under one God, we can realize that we are one tribe under God. And the other tribal affiliation is just an identity because I wasn't born as a Dinka. It's my mom and dad that told me you are a Dinka. And so that should not influence my action in society to claim that the Dinka I should fight for and I should hate another non-Dinka. And only to do that is when you know God and be baptized to God and confess our sin, and everything goes as we just praise the words when we were singing those songs of worship. And so we need prayers to establish more church in more villages, which means these more villages will be accessible by Christian to move through, and more villages mean they will be more peaceful to anyone to cross over, and for even a mobile medical team to come, even for the government that is united will come and bring infrastructure so that lives can change and a life come back to that country which is just much of a war. And much of the prayers is peace. We are expecting this government of 5 vice presidents to hold election in 2024 so that this position ceases to exist, so that the budget for the country may be used for building roads. Because one of the things is you cannot use road from Juba to Awil, which is the capital. You have to fly for just 1.5 hours. And if you put things in the truck to come to Awil, that may take you 3 or even a week, 3 days or a week, because roads are bad. And it gets messy when you are in the bush there because it's very insecure. You will watch out for rebels, you watch out for getting stuck on the bad road and all that. So we need that prayer. I think this is our picture when the team in January left. That is Yornio, the first man who met Paul Douglas in Khartoum in 1988 with a necktie and suit, and I am there. And that is Wayne, and that is David from AIDS. It's the first time AIDS team went to South Sudan since they contracted polls in 1988. So it was kind, we were overjoyed to see the cornerstones, we call it the foundation of SAM. Because of AIDS, SAM exists. Because of Paul's exception of contracts and Teach Yornio, the whole team exists. So it's a God story. And so the whole team will wish me to finish by saying, thank you. We don't know whether thank you is enough, but that's what we know in the gospel, that God is using our brothers in US as the true vine trees. You are part of the vine tree Christ is talking about, and we are set as branches that are producing fruits that without the true trees, we cannot nurture even ourselves to do the work we are doing. And so we are for each other. We'll keep praying for you. We still request to continue prayers that we stand on our feet, and maybe it will be a turn of that mission to go back even to Sudan, where we break away, because still at war. If South Sudan come to peace, we may need even to go to Sudan and still talk about Christ there, and then the whole region can be at peace through him. Yeah, and thank you very much for that time.